So after that, like I graduated and I was just trying to hustle, just do different things. Like I started a drop shipping store, didn't work. I tried day trading, that didn't work. When I mean didn't work, I'm talking about like I'm losing thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, like just trying to just figure it out, you know? Almost did Amazon FBA. Thank God I didn't do that because the startup to buy all that inventory and then basically pray that you sell it is, yeah, it's a big commitment.
Welcome, everybody, back to another exciting show, the About That Water podcast, where we help you build strong financial habits so that you can have that confidence when you're talking about money, spending money, and even making money. And I have an awesome guest that's coming on that is going to be talking about, starting the business, how he got started, and actually how he takes brands to that new level, and also take himself to that new level to help the other people in the world. And I have to bring on Myles Youngblood. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I can't complain. How are you doing today?
It's a Saturday. It's another day, man.
I know, another day, another podcast. That's why I've been putting on my Instagram story, man.
Yeah, and you've been doing quite a bit in the podcast realm. I want to congratulate you on your stride and keep moving beyond, the typical 3 episodes that most people have out there. So
We appreciate it, man. Like they always say that 90% of podcasters don't make it past episode 3, and then 90% of them don't make it past episode, I think it was like 20 or something like that. And I hit, I think, episode 22 or 23 like the other day. So
congrats.
Sticking it out. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. How far do you want to take this thing?
Man, so I want to take it pretty far. I really do. I really want Beyond Ordinary to really be one of those ones. And for those that don't know, that I have a podcast. It's called Beyond Ordinary. It's connecting with great people doing great things, inspire others to do the same. And it highlights a lot about entrepreneurship and the different facets of entrepreneurship. Right. So I did an interview with somebody last week. He was a party promoter, and he does that full time. You know what I mean? Like I've known him for a very long time. I've known him for like 5 years, so I've kind of seen his evolution, which is why I wanted him on the show. But some people might not see that party promotion being a viable income, and he was able to do it. So I have stock traders, poker players, like a lot of non-traditional ways of making money, and that's when I want to show people and inspire people to do something outside of the regular 9 to 5. So to get to your original question in terms of where I'm trying to take it, I'm really trying to have my show be, one of those ones really like a modern wisdom podcast or like a Diary of a CEO podcast, like a really very high quality podcast with high quality guests. And that's just going to come with time and putting in the reps and that's it. Just hard work, putting in the reps.
Yeah, because I saw you've been putting in the reps and actually being able to meet you for the first time at Podcast Movement. It was awesome to see you there, making your connections, making your rounds and meetings up with some of the great podcasters that are out there. Was there anybody that stuck out the most to you that you met when you're at Podcast Movement?
Did anybody stick out the most? It was just so many great people that I met. There wasn't anyone in particular. I know I met this one guy named Taco. He actually lives out in DC. And I remember like me and him were chopping it up. He has his own show and he was telling me that, hey, like I shoot at the studio. You can, check him out. And that's actually the studio where I've been shooting at recently. And it's actually around the corner from my house too.
Nice.
So, like, it's very convenient. So really just making those connections. And that's one thing that I loved about Podcast Movement is I was able to make a lot of connections. Like I know a lot of people go to these conferences and you might, be there, talk to somebody. And then once you leave the conference, like, you don't really speak to them, but that really isn't the case. I met up with this woman named Bree at Vid Summit, and we've been, which was like, I think 2 weeks after that, we chopped it up. We still talk on Instagram. Met Jamal. He's actually about to come on my show to talk about, mental health in corporate and stuff like that. And there's like some other people that I've been meaning to tap in with over the coming days. I met another guy named Corey. He actually put me in touch with his podcast network. the owner of his podcast network. So I got a call with them. So I've really been just blessed and fortunate to be able to meet a lot of quality individuals through podcasting, and that's probably been the best part and most rewarding part for real.
Yeah, because I mean, you started this thing not too long ago, and but in 2020 you finished, and coming through the pandemic. But also, your dad was an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
What made you follow his footsteps in that entrepreneurship?
Man, seeing my dad just be able to have his own schedule and not necessarily live a traditional 9 to 5 life really helped me see that there's other ways of making money, there's other ways of living. So I was like, okay, that's what I wanted to do. So for the longest time, I didn't know what I was going to do. I went to school for business. I graduated Howard University with a degree in finance. Unfortunately, I found out that it was corporate finance, which is not what I really wanted to do. And by the time I realized, I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought this was going to be. I was like halfway through my junior year already. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just stick it out. So after that, like I graduated and I was just trying to hustle, just do different things. Like I started a drop shipping store, didn't work. I tried day trading. That didn't work. When I mean didn't work, I'm talking about like I'm losing thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars,
Mm.
like just trying to just figure it out, you know? Almost did Amazon FBA. Thank God I didn't do that because to start up to buy all that inventory and then basically pray that you sell it is yeah, it's a big commitment. But I didn't do that, and so what I ended up starting, I started my own agency to help influencers and content creators, podcasters, expand their reach and brand through short form content. So a lot of my clients, they've been on YouTube for a very long time, and when YouTube came out with YouTube Shorts, I didn't necessarily know what to do. And so I was like, okay, I could help them repurpose all of this content. So I go in and I take the long form content, cut it up, put it into shorts. I have a team that is really good at what they do. And then we post it all for them on all platforms because you never want to pigeonhole yourself to just, one platform. And that's what I do for myself. I'm sure you've seen my Instagram reels. I post those every single day. And it's really helped grow my channel and my Instagram. I know I'm starting small now, but those compounding effects after, a year, 2 years of doing it's going to be incredible. So,
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm curious of is why did you take the digital route for entrepreneurship instead of the physical route, like how
man,
your dad does?
that's a great question. That's a great question. So, it's it's 2024. You know what I mean? Like we have so many different ways that we can make money outside of the traditional way. And what I didn't want to do was pigeonhole myself and to a particular location. So one idea I actually was thinking about was doing like an ATM business. And I remember I ran it by one of my friends and he was telling me, he was like, bro, like ATM, like you could probably make some good money, but the thing is you don't want to have to, I would have to get a car, I'd have to, go to these different locations. Obviously vandalism. I live in the city, so I guarantee they're gonna be vandalized and stuff like that. So I I was like, you know what? Let me find a way to make money online. So, and by doing that, it allows me to hire staff that isn't in my local area. So I would have never been able to hire the great staff that I have now if I had a local business. I'd be kind of handcuffed, and I didn't want to necessarily handcuff my business. So.
That's a smart way of doing it. And plus, you came out during the pandemic, so everybody was already coming through with that innovative, like, hey, it's okay to do everything remotely. It's instead of the face to face brick and mortar style companies. So when you came out, like even the job market during that time frame was all remote. So, you know, working in person, is that something that you still work remotely, or is it still this is your business full time?
So I don't do my business full time, not yet. That's going to come very soon. But I have been. I always tell people that graduating in 2020 was a blessing and a curse in disguise, and the reason why I say that is because what Well, one, like it does suck that I didn't get my graduation. I never walked across the stage. I put in 4 years at Howard, dragged me through the
Mm,
administration, all the whole 9 yard, just for March to come and have them put me off campus. I was also pledging at the time we were supposed to have our our day where we come out, show the campus who we are, and I was looking forward to it because I was like, damn, like I'm finally gonna get my time back, like, and it's gonna be my senior year, and I'm not gonna lie, like when I went home. I just, man, it was almost like a gut punch. Like, damn, like this, like I'm on lockdown. I was supposed to have the funnest time of my life. I didn't get to say bye to a lot of my friends. Even to this day, there are people that I haven't seen
mm.
since like I graduated. But the reason why I say that it was a blessing is because since then, I think I started working that like summer, like June, July ish. And from that summer to today, I've been fully remote. I've never had to go into a corporate office. The only time I've ever had to go into a corporate office is if they're like, hey, oh, we need you to like do fingerprints or whatever, or oh, I need a new laptop. So I went to the facility and they gave me a new laptop and stuff like that. But in terms of someone being like, hey, Miles, we need you to be in the office so that way you can do work, I've never had to do that. And that has allowed me so much flexibility to be able to do my business, do my podcast. Like it would be almost virtually impossible for me to do what I do now if I had to go into a corporate office.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense. So now that you got your strategies, your SOPs, and your processes that are set up so
mhm.
that you can actually maintain the remote aspect. When it comes to helping out like your friends or something like that, are your friends also doing this? Because, like they say, you're a reflection of the five people that you hang around. Are your
Mhm.
friends also in entrepreneurship, or they just stick with the 9 to 5?
So I really only have one close friend that has one of my fraternity brothers. He's a photographer, and he honestly is really good, and he's made some decent money doing that. But I've had conversations with him. He says that he still wants to go to law school and stuff like that, and he doesn't want to, go full time as a photographer. I've been trying to push him over the years. I'll probably get to him one of these days. But I do have a friend that also has his own content agency, helping influencers, YouTubers, and stuff like that. So me and him been kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, talking about, hey, like, what do you think about this outreach script? He literally texted me yesterday talking about, hey, like, I was supposed to have a meeting with this person. Like, this was the text, like, you know what I'm saying? Just bouncing ideas off of each other. But I will say that, um, it's just it's hard. It's hard. Entrepreneurship is hard, and there's not too many people doing it. And I've been telling myself like right now I'm kind of in what I consider my lonely chapter because I feel like a lot of the things that I've been going through over the last year. Like I feel like a lot of people can't relate, and
Yeah.
so I'm just I've kind of just had to make peace with the fact that I'm not going to be able to relate to a lot of people. I don't have like a traditional lifestyle that a lot of people do. I really wish I could just, close my laptop at 5 o'clock and then kind of just like chill for the rest of the day. But like, no, if I'm not doing my 9 to 5, then then I'm helping my editors do content for the podcast, booking guests, stuff like that. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm trying to find new clients for my business. Is literally a 24/7 thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I can relate to because podcasting, I'm always thinking about who's the next guest. What I'm gonna put for the show notes. And as we talked offline a little bit, talking about the blogging piece of it, kind of add that extra content in there.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like you said, the short form content is becoming key because Instagram just now allowing people to upload 3 minutes worth of content now for the
Really?
reels. Yeah.
That's, that's good. That's good. I
So
definitely noticed that.
yeah. And so since you've been doing this for a while, SEO is kind of one of those hot topics. What is something that people can do to kind of increase their SEO presence on the short form?
So, I have somebody that pitches me SEO almost like every other week.
On the table, yeah.
So it's literally somebody like they'll send me a screenshot and all this other stuff. But what I use vidIQ. I've been meaning to put on my to-do list to kind of like utilize that. So I've really just been using vidIQ/ChatGPT, like using different AI softwares for, descriptions and SEO. In terms of doing it specifically for short form content, I would say SEO is mainly for the long form content because shorts like the bulk, like I would say 80 to 90% of how your short is going to get discovered is just from the shorts feed, like the browse feed. So it's more so not necessarily about let me make this title so optimized. It's more so making sure that the first 3 seconds of your video hooks the watchers and you get that, 90, 100% retention on your shorts. That's the main key for the short form content.
Yeah. What platform seems to be your favorite?
Platform use seems to be my favorite in terms of what just posting or being on or
Just posting, being on, whatever. Like, because most people say like, oh, maybe I should start my business and start doing videos on Instagram. Some people say, let me start doing LinkedIn. Let me see if I could do TikTok or even X or even just Facebook solely. Though, out of those different platforms of the big ones,
right.
which one is your favorite?
Uh, well, I guess this has to be my favorite by default because I use it the most is Instagram. And I think if I had to literally only pick one platform and grow off of it, probably be Instagram. And mainly because not only does it have the short form content, but you could also like DM people on there as well. It's just such a shareable and personable platform. They have stories as well, so I would Instagram's definitely been my bread and butter, and it's not necessarily a surprise that Instagram right now is my second biggest platform behind my YouTube. But one thing I've been trying to utilize recently is actually LinkedIn. I've
Hmm.
been posting my content over on LinkedIn, and one thing that I liked about LinkedIn, I gotta check to see if I think it's for the mobile too. Is they have like a clickable link, so I'll put the short, and then I'll
Yep.
also put a link to the full content for anybody that wants to go over there. And I've had a LinkedIn for a very long time too, so I was like, there's like if I have a LinkedIn with I think like what 800 connections, I might as well utilize that. And I'm glad I did because not I literally just started getting on LinkedIn probably like last week, and and there's because I'm at Howard, anybody that has Howard in their bio, I just accept them automatically. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of
Yeah.
people that like I have like in my network that I don't necessarily like personally know like that, but this one girl, she was like, hey, like you should probably interview like so and so, and I was like, okay, cool. So I went to his profile. I'm like, oh, he's cool. He talks about like, sales, like sales funnels and utilizing AI and stuff. And that's something that I'm interested in. I, tried funnels myself, not that great at it. So I was like, let me have him on the podcast. So like that once that happened, I was like, oh, there's some value being on LinkedIn. So let me do that. And also, a lot of my guests are kind of older. And so when I like a lot of them don't really have like Instagram, so I've been just I've been getting back on LinkedIn, adding them on LinkedIn, tagging them and stuff like that, hoping them reposting the promotion of the episode and stuff too. So I look forward to seeing how LinkedIn goes moving forward for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that as we slide on over to the third segment, which is the futures, and one of the things that you're constantly doing is trying out different things and not giving up. But when it comes to giving up, you know when to quit. How do you know when you had enough of trying something before you move on to something else?
I would say from a general standpoint that, and this isn't even necessarily my words. I follow this guy named Alex Hormozy, great business content, and he said that you should only give up if something fundamentally changes. And what he means by that is like he gave the example of if you aren't trying to like scale newspapers, you should, and you see that the newspaper market is actually declining by like 25% year over year, just as people go digital. And that's a fundamental change in the market. So you should probably pivot. So that's a general answer. Now, in terms of me, so I actually originally, I actually made a post about this on Instagram for a national podcast. I didn't originally intend go into 2024 wanting to do a podcast. I was going to do a whole bunch of other stuff, and I was actually going to do pivot business models because my business model is done for you, and I want to do a little more done with you. So I paid for this program with thousands of dollars, whatever. I was going to like help accountants for some weird reason or whatever, and part of that program they wanted me to like run ads and do content toward with those ads. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And they were like, hey, like you should probably like do podcast interviews with your clients so that way like you could use that social proof. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Well, let me give this a try. So literally the first episode on my podcast, I did it on Zoom. This is when I was still trying to do that accounting, thing or whatever. And I wasn't really, I would say that I wasn't really taking the podcast seriously because I was doing it for that program. It wasn't like I was actually trying to scale podcasts, right? But one day I was again, shout out to Alex Ramosi. He was talking about, okay, like if what you want happens, then what? And what I interpreted him meant by that is like if like the best case scenario happens, like what does that look like? And so I was like, all right, cool. So let me stop and think. I was like, all right, well, I'll be making a lot of money, I'm saying 6, 7 figures, working with accountants. uh, I'd be talking to these type of people, da da da. And I had to stop and think. I'm like, okay, is this really what I want to do? And I was like, nah, it's not. And I was like, doing this podcast was kind of fun. Like, what if I, instead of like having the podcast be like this little one off on the side, not really serious, and what if I actually like try and take podcasting seriously? So that's when I decided to pivot. And oh, actually, a main reason why I pivoted from that done with you to just going into podcasting is because another entrepreneur who I respect, his name is Sam Ovens. He said he recently shifted his position on what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. He said that he used to always think that it's just discipline, discipline, discipline. All you have to do, if you just have 10 out of 10 discipline, you will succeed. And he's recently pivoted on that point, not necessarily saying that you don't need discipline, but he was saying that you also have to have that passion. And that passion is what's going to get you through tough times. And that was the main reason why I pivoted from doing that is because I would wake up every single day trying to make these like Instagram reels, YouTube shorts for accountants, and I didn't really care to do that. Like it was literally a dread. Like it was to the point where like I would get up in the day and I would know that I would have to make that content, and I would just be so sick, just be so blunt. Like I didn't even want to get out of bed. Um, but once I started doing podcasts, I'm like, oh yeah, I really enjoy this. Like let's see where this takes me. So yeah,
Yeah, having these interviews, to me, podcasting is therapy.
fact.
This is where you can actually get your thoughts out. And right now, even though it's just you and I, but we're going to release this to the world. But even when you do your own single interviews, you're just talking to yourself and the screen, and maybe you got a couple of notes. That's it. And for a lot of introverts, this is great. But when it gets to, the conferences and stuff like that, you meeting around people, and there's a lot of talking. Because I was even thinking about to the point where I might just get business cards of like who I am, my talking points, just directly on the thing. Who I am, what my show's about, name of it, all that fun stuff. Because it's a lot of talking. It's a
It
lot.
is. It is. When we was at podcast movement, I was like, oh my goodness, like especially having to do the same pitch of what I do for my podcast over and over and over again, like back to back to back. Oh man, it was a lot. But good, great conference, great conference. I'm trying to plot on podcast evolution in Chicago.
Are you
For
going to Chicago? Okay. I
Mhm.
did enjoy, I can give you heads up because I did do evolutions earlier this year in 2024.
For sure.
Because I was speaking there and talking about the burnout for podcasters.
Mhm.
And I had to say, like, it's mostly suits in there. So I'm going to give you a heads up with that. Meaning it wasn't like how movement was, where there's a lot of podcasters, we get a vibe and everything like that. It's mostly the business side of the house. So they looking for like, hey, you doing the deal? Cool. What's the deal? And the deals will start off at 10K and then they move up. So you got Microsoft there, Google was there. Obviously the podcast hosting platforms like Blueberry, Libsyn, and so forth. So all of those guys are there. Most of the AI folks, everybody that's helping out podcasters to be
Yeah,
successful on the back end, you're gonna meet up with them.
sure. Okay. Appreciate the heads up.
Yeah. So with the heads up in the futures, what skills or habits that's going to take you to that next level?
I think for me, I just need to be a lot more focused. And what I mean by focused, I mean sometimes I'm just very like I know what I need to do for the day, and I know what I'm doing like right now, but like like different things pop up and it'll just like take my attention. Like so, for example, I might be, you know. looking at some videos for my clients, and I'm doing that, and then something else, like maybe somebody emailed me about like just I just get a random email, so I'm like, okay, so then I'll stop doing that, and then I'll go to the email, and then I'll go back to that. So instead of like completing, I need to complete the task that I'm doing, and then move on to the next task. That's something that I need to start doing a lot more.
Yeah, that's good that you are able to kind of pinpoint exactly that. Um, that focus piece. Once I
Mm.
figure it out, I'll definitely do an episode on that. Or if I find a psychologist, because yeah, that's one of the things that we all need to work on. Actually, you know what? I need to bring somebody back on the show because she does clean. She has a cleaning business. Because I was asking her like, how do you clean a house within an hour? Whereas if I'm doing it, it's going to take me like 3 hours cleaning the same thing. And I'm like, because she was like, well, you mostly focus on the things where things supposed to go instead of just moving it out the way or just bulk it together, finish one room at a time. And I was like, oh, well, I
Mm,
might have you come back on to do a deeper dive on how do you stay focused. So thanks for that idea.
for
Yeah,
sure.
it helped both of us out. Like,
Exactly. That's what podcasting is for. Learn something.
yes, sir, for free too.
Mm, emphasis on that.
Right. So, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with before we dive into the final four questions?
Uh, I would say to just really follow your passion. I think nowadays it's so easy for people to get caught up in trying to chase money or trying to chase status or whatever. Like at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's gonna have their day eventually. So you might as well n- do what you want, do what you love. And so really just pursue what you're passionate about for real. And it doesn't even necessarily mean, oh, you have to start a business, but like if there's something that you really like doing, just do that. Integrate it in your life somehow.
Hey, best way to leave it. So, you ready for the final four?
Let's do it.
All right. Question number one. What does wealth mean to you?
To me, wealth means abundance. You can be wealthy in multiple ways. You could have a wealth of knowledge. You could have monetary wealth. Just wealth. It just means abundance, honestly.
And what was your worst money mistake?
Oh man, where's money mistake? I would say the worst money mistake I ever made was when I was trying to day trade, right? And I ended up losing a lot of money, right? I lost probably like it was probably like $4,000, right? And I was on Kraken and I was doing 5x leverage, no stop loss. It was stupid. Ended up getting liquidated, all that. So, and I was doing it. My friend I was telling you about, like we were doing it together. So we were trading. So I got liquidated, he got liquidated, and we came up with this brilliant idea of, yo, we were on Kraken only got 5x leverage. If we get on Bybit, like they got up to 100x leverage. So what did we
A
do?
100x?
Yes, 100x leverage. You will get liquidated in a second.
Right.
But I mean, we didn't go that far, but
Okay.
we still far enough. So what we ended up doubling down. So I think I took what I think at this point like 10, $11,000, put it in Bybit, and decided that I was going to go on 25x leverage. Keep in mind that I had no track record of being profitable at this point. So I don't know why I thought I can't, I went on YouTube. There was like the strategy that I was learning and da da da. And I was like, oh, okay, like this seems simple enough. Let me use this indicator. Okay, look at this green dot, blah, 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 buy. All right, cool. So I did that. And I'll never forget. We were on the phone when we did it. We put it in the order. And I was like, all right, I'm not trying to be emotional and watch this, da da da. Oh, I also no stop loss, by the way, no stop loss. I put the phone down, and probably like 60 seconds later, he calls me back. He's like, bro, look now. I'll go back to look. I'm just down astronomically. And so we over here just trying to see if, if it's gonna reverse. Did not. So all in all, I probably lost like $20,000 trying to trade cryptocurrencies. And I did it the wrong way. So that was definitely my worst money mistake by far.
Wow. Hey, well, I mean, that explains why you listen and subscribe to a lot of other people. Get your education up. Keep it simple.
Now I'm doing it right this time around.
Right. Number 3. What is your favorite financial or non-financial book?
I don't really have a favorite finance book. I'm more, if I'm being honest, I consume a lot more podcasts. Ooh, shocker, right? I consume a lot more podcasts and other content creators' content way more than I do books. But a book that I'm rereading now, I've already read it, is David Goggins' book Can't Hurt Me, and I really like that. I really like that book because it really goes to show you like you could really do absolutely anything you put your mind to, and that you are not, and more importantly, that I'm not unlocking my full potential. And if I'm being honest, well, that's one thing that I want to be able to say when my time comes is that I gave it my all and I reached my full potential. I don't want to be like, damn, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like I ain't trying to live my life like that. So I'm trying to reread that to really understand myself, and as he says, stay hard. So
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
mhm.
Number 4. What is your favorite dish to make?
um Like I'm being honest, I'm not really a cooker like that. I can't. I ain't the best at throwing it down. But recently, one thing I've been eating is a lot more chicken thighs. Like the dark meat, it tastes significantly better than white meat chicken breast. So I've been taking those, cutting those up, making quesadillas out of those. So yeah, that's been stuff I've been eating recently.
All right. Let's see the last question of the show, which is where could people find out more about you?
Oh, for sure. So I'm mainly on Instagram. I'm very active over there every single day, which is at Myles Youngblood TV, and that's Miles with a Y. And then my YouTube, if you want to check out my podcast, it's Miles A Youngblood on YouTube. So
Cool. Well, thank you, Miles, so much for coming through, dropping some knowledge, dropping your story on how you were able to become who you are today. And definitely, I'll be watching and subscribing to see how far you go, and would love to have you back on the show to even to talk about anything that's new that's going through you want to share with the audience. And even if you made some mistakes, we all learn from each other mistakes, and that's the best way we can learn to get better, because we don't talk about this stuff in our communities enough. And I think that this is something that we can continue on having this discussion around the dinner table, especially with the holidays coming up.
absolutely, man. I mean, that's really why I started my show, because I wanted to not only highlight my journey, but other people's journey, and understand that everybody started from zero. Everybody started with just an idea, and that idea came to fruition. You just met that person when they were at their peak or hitting or just now catching their stride. But there's a story behind how they got there. And most of the time the story wasn't, oh, they had a silver spoon in their mouth. A lot of it was a lot of hardship. So I want to highlight people's hardships. And I literally have no shame in sharing mine. So
Yeah, no, I greatly appreciate you sharing it with the audience today and with myself. So, with that, everybody, hopefully, y'all got something out of this episode. If you did, go ahead on and like, share, subscribe. If you didn't, go ahead on and share with somebody else. They might like it next time. So, who knows? What might not be for you will be for somebody else. All right, everybody. Y'all be safe. We out. Peace.
all right, later.
Back in 2000, you recently graduated Howard, and has it been 2020?
You said 2000.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking about my own self.
I was like, whoa, don't tell me. I ain't that old.
Right. Man, come on now. I mean, jeez.
Hey, I ain't got no one, so I can't even.